stop.
You're right, because remember I was telling you about taking it and rolling it between your fingers? You can't feel this one as well when you roll it. That's another way you can tell if it's fine. Some of the heavier ones, when you roll, you can feel it. It's like rolling a pencil. And that's one of the ways that if you can't really distinguish a micron, you can roll it and feel it.
And you can see here, would you agree that this is going to be a fine fleece?
It has pretty good blend.
Yes, this
No, it
is.
doesn't have really,
It's like my index.
but not really crimpy.
Yeah.
Two and a half
It's
inches.
very wavy, crimpy.
All right, now, here's maybe a tertiary fiber, or is that just a real small garter? It's really a little too big to be what we call a tertiary garter of cashmere fiber. We're just not seeing that like we used to. But it's just maybe nearly the same micron, but it's just straight when we call it a tertiary fiber. And what are we going to call this crimp here?
It's not as fine as it would be.
It's
like
a
good?
You wouldn't want to call this gold. It's fine.
Or if you do, send it my way.
So I would just call it overall good minus. It's definitely got some up and down to it. It's not just double back on itself. So we might find the variation in here as different ones or nothing. And here again, this is why I really like to evaluate my goats with the fiber on the goat. Because this is the luck of the draw here. And the other thing that we haven't mentioned here publicly, I mean, as a group, I have never combed a goat. But I've been around some and listened to people. And then I have noticed, if we don't share our goats at the right time, the fine cashmere seems to get away sooner. So you may have combed this goat a little bit late, and all we're getting is the coarse hair. So that's why it's important for you to evaluate it on the goat earlier. The micron, we're just going to call it, I'm just going to call it fine. I don't think it's the finest, but I call this fine. And
I call it medium.
And you want to call it medium? I won't argue with you. But this one reason you got a little extra fiber here is because it's a little coarser than some of the other that we've seen. So we got the crimp. Is this it? What do we call the crimp? We called it good minus, didn't we? In the international world, they seem to stress white. What we found at Cashmere America was, since people are so much into natural dyes, they like the different colors of
The
it.
hand spinners often like the colors, you don't care for the white.
Yeah.
When you dye this, like that fleece or some of the darker brown ones, you end up with the prettiest colors you've ever seen.
Yeah, you can produce those
And it
colors.
does take the dye. It takes the dye like, wow.
It just gives you that
It's
undertone.
natural.
All right. So uniformity of crimp, I would say it's good. I mean, you can look at this for an hour, and sure, you're going to find all different kind of things, but you got to make a pretty basic assumption. All right. The differentiation,
He said it was
and that's
Average
I would put a average minus or poor. The fiber length, this is getting close to 1.5 inches, 2 inches, so I would just call this good, and I would call it 2 inches.
15-inch
Yeah,
mark.
there. The uniformity of length would be good. Oh, but the luster would be, what do we call it, low, so it's in the good category? The micron, I call this 16 to 17 myself. It'd be fine. Yeah, not super fine. but fine. What I'm calling medium is really that 16 and a half to 17 and a half.
Okay, so
And I
that
think
just
this is
below
maybe
that.
just
This is the
more
below
than
that.
15 to 16,
How much did this fleece weigh?
just a little over 3 ounces.
Okay.
And here's that tip in it.
This one is not bad.
Now the yield, and I'm used to the sharing, but with this small micron, I don't know how it's going to come out, how many times Blair would have to go through it, but to me, I would say this is about 65% yield. See, you can always turn up a spot like this, and that's why when these fleeces are kind of in their bag, and you've got several fleeces, you've got to reach in what's out here at the tip, and then go inside the bag, and then over here, and then under here, and just take what you got.
This one here, I can feel it in.
I'm going to call this, for the sake of our chart, low on the superfine, but I think this is one of the finest fleeces we saw today. But put this one in your catalog as superfine with good minus style. And we're going to say the crimp is good. And you've heard us talk about this today, that 2 to 4 ounces doesn't sound like a lot, but it's really the average. So you want to shoot for those 6 to 8 ounce. And we have some of those that come in these competitions that we estimate are sharing 8 to 12 ounces. Boy, that's wonderful. Okay. We're going to call this superfine. And we're going to say the crimp is good. If you need glasses and you can't see this good, you know it's fine. Usually there's more crimp with the finest. So when I get excited, when I see the old oak with still good crimp and, 17 micron there. Okay, so the length.
What about uniformity?
Uniformity is good.
Sorry, I missed it.
I just very seldom use the word excellent. To me, the staple length, you would say good, and I would say 1.5 to 2 inches. And I think that's a category we need, is that somewhere in there, that 1.5 to 2 inches, which is actually good. Differentiation, this is what would jump out to me as it would get a low score for differentiation. It's the guard hair.
Average or poor? Average or poor?
Well, I would say poor because of 2 things. It's shorter than the fiber, and then this is thin guard hair. If you want to look at this board here, you can maybe see this one's still fine, but
That's rather short.